this will definitely going to be a very great journey, I guess. Um, we will going to start within few minutes.
We'll start in, I think, 2 minutes.
Yes, yes, you
Yeah,
can.
Akriti, please unmute yourself and
Okay, can
show
you
us
guys
your
hear me?
face as well. Yeah, we want to see you as well.
Apparently, I cannot hear you guys. So, can you guys thumbs up if you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but I have no idea. Akriti, there must be some issue with your
Yeah.
laptop,
Okay,
I think.
that works fine.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, Aliza. Nice to have you. So, Akriti, are you presenting your screen?
So, hello everyone. Akriti, can you hear us a bit?
I mean, are we audible? That is a question.
Akriti,
I think she cannot really hear us. So
So you guys can see, right? You guys are able to see the screen?
yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay, makes sense.
So, hello everyone. Today we have with us Akriti. Akriti is a junior research fellow at
So,
Jawaharlal Nehru
good evening,
University.
everybody. My name is Akriti, and I'm a research scholar at the Center of English Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. So, I warmly welcome each and every one of you to this talk today on Victorian Sundays, May 2025. So today, the topic I've chosen for my talk is Steam, Salt, and Sentience, Post-Human Currents in the Victorian Maritime Literature. So the contents that are displayed in front of your screen is introduction, what is posthumanism, maritime fiction as a post-human space, salt, the sea as a post-human agent, sentience, ships, storms, and consciousness, Victorian technological imagination, and the conclusion. So beginning with what is posthumanism? So, posthumanism is a critical and philosophical framework that interrogates and deconstructs traditional humanist conception of the human being, rooted in the post-structuralist, feminist, etc., etc. So, basically, what posthumanism tries to do is it takes a detour from the traditional humanist framework that gives its centrality to the Anthropocene and gives the dominant kind of despotic center to the human and kind of disparages everybody who is in the periphery of not being considered as a human. So basically, what I'm arguing is that everything in this entire universe has been centered by, by keeping in mind the human ideal. So everything that you know, everything that I know, and everything that all of us know is probably made, organized, assimilated, conceptualized, etc., etc., by keeping in mind the human ideal. So the posthumanism debate or the discourse argues to decentralize or rather, move ahead or move beyond or, like take a step back from being a human and analyze what do we mean and understand by human. So one of the foundational texts that I'll be talking about of posthumanism is again Donna Haraway's A Cyborg Manifesto, which introduces the figure of cyborg, a hybrid machine and an organism. So basically, you must have heard people talking about a humanoid, a cyborg, etc. So this is what cyborg is all about. It kind of, dismantles the human ideal because an ideal is something which it is kind of it kind of does not permits anybody to like come into its space of periphery. It kind of restricts itself. So yeah, so this cyborg is kind of that construct which kind of deconstructs everything that the human ideal is presumably be. So like we kind of challenge the distinction between the natural, artificial, physical, informational, the human and non-human. So I would also like to introduce you to a few terms. For example, posthumanism, inhuman, transhuman. These are all the key terms that come under the umbrella term of posthumanism. And we have Rosai Braidotti, who talks about the post-human nomadic subjectivity. So now the posthuman is someone who is not restricted to one area or one locale or anything, not in like spatial dimension, not in temporal dimension. Rather, it presents itself as a subject which is like you can locate it nowhere. It kind of what Derrida talks about in free play. So it acts like a nomad. So like a nomad is a person who like kind of is an alter self to the societal norms, societal subjectivity, societal structure. So a nomad is a person who like disrupts it. Similarly, that's what a posthuman exactly does in the discourse of pure posthumanism. It kind of disrupts the structure, the ideal of the human subjectivity. This is what the argument is all about. I am so sorry I am not able to include a lot of posthumanism because what I've introduced to you is just a bit of it. So yeah, I mean I hope I'm able to like make the argument clear. Moving ahead, and I would also like to trace out a few elements that I will like take on in this entire presentation, in this entire talk. So we have Miss Stacy, who kind of gives up the concept of transcorporeality, which talks about how human bodies are continuously permeated and shaped by environmental forces. So again, until now, what has been done is every non-human element has been deciphered in context to the humanist ideals. For example, we have water body, since we're talking about the blue humanities, the rivers, the seas, the oceans, the ponds, everything has been deciphered according to the human, keeping in mind the human. What if we try and locate something in the blue humanities which disrupts, which does not take into consideration the humans? What if we like in the study of the subject and object, what if we remove the human as a subject of study and rather take a water body as a subject of study? What will be the equation then? This is something which is also analyzed by Karen Barad in Meeting the Universe Halfway in terms of quantum mechanics, which also is one of my key research areas. Then we have Sylvia, who critiques the colonial and racial dimension of humanism by demonstrating how the man of Western thought is historically constructed as white, male, the Hosi, excluding vast population from the category of fully human. So again, I would like to like bring this forth before I move on with my arguments further. That even though we're looking for a post-humanism kind of framework, because like even though like we're trying to like move beyond human, move post-human, but still we still are hooked onto that name of human. I still have to tell you post-human in order to make you understand that we are moving, we're trying to like go beyond human. I am still using the human as a pointer, as a marker. So this is what I want to like there's an inherent connectivity that we can't still get rid of. So this is one of the like, key areas of posthumanism that I particularly want to research, and I open it for all of you present at the talk to kindly let's become post-human or maybe something else, and come up with something which helps us to like go beyond human or something. Okay, so yeah, so today we'll be talking about some like speculative fiction stuff, science fiction stuff, which is also one of my key research areas, eco-Gothic narratives, and maritime literature and genres where boundaries are routinely tested and reimagined. Posthumanism is not an eraser of the human, but a call to reconceptualize what it means to be human in a world increasingly defined by technological integration, ecological crisis, non-human agency. It offers a critical toolkit for navigating a future where the humans are no longer the sole actors or the central concern of the philosophical and cultural inquiry. So this is what I mean by Victorian maritime fiction. So we're talking about post-human subjectivity. Here the subject of orientation, of structuring, of anything is not human. We'll study entirely from the perspective of a post-human. Then we'll talk about ecological entanglement, how things are interconnected with this. Also, Latu talks about this in Gaia hypotheses and also actor network theory, just in case, FYI, if you guys want to look for it. Okay, so this presentation positions Victorian maritime literature as an early, unintentional laboratory of post-human thought. Steamships, sailors, storms, salt water become symbolic and material means through which narrative interrogates the limits of the human. So again, we have Miss Haraway and Stacy moving forward. So today I'll be talking in the context of two main ships. Two main texts. I deliberately use the term ships. Okay, so yeah, Mr. Midshipman Easy. Also, we have William Clark's Russell, The Wreck of the Grosvenor. So, why I've taken ships? I mean, I would like to mostly center my argument on the presence of ship. So the three keywords, salt, sentience, and seawater, are kind of very important in this presentation, and we shall explore how and what I'm talking about them. So yeah. So first of all, let's talk about the element salt. The sea as a post-human agent in the Victorian maritime fiction. So the Victorian maritime fiction, the sea is far more than a backdrop for human adventure. It emerges as a post-human agent that actively shapes, disrupts, and transforms human subjectivity. It kind of the agency of non-human actor. The sea. The sea is a very, very, very good and a very poignant example in understanding the agency of non-human actors. Because mostly the non-human elements into up till now, the canonical debate always revolves around the non-human actors being a passive deciphers of what we know. But sea is something which is very, very, very eminent, and we can see how it, transforms the human subjectivity, and rather not even transforms, it actually stands up in its full pride and challenges the humans. And also, we'll talk about how the gendering element also comes here, because the sea is also seen as a fatherly, as a male non-human entity. So even a non-human entity, we have put the problematic concept of gendering the non-humans as well. Yeah. So this is what I mean by the salt, the keyword salt, which refers to the sea as a post-human agent, and which is full of agency, not as how the canonical debates have portrayed the non-human elements as passive, docile, not at all connected, as something which kind of limits itself within its sphere, but it kind of challenges and disrupts the sphere. We also will see how, in the wreck of Grosvenor, the ocean is not merely a setting, but a sentient. The ocean as a sentient being, which understands what happens as something not as, it's written in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, that you have command over the sea and earth and everything that you see. So the sea here stands as a sentient being, which understands everything that humans do, as something which does not lacks any sentient understanding. The shipwreck motif underscores the vulnerability of the human body and technology alike, both dismantled by the elementive power of water. The protagonist's survival is contingent not on domination over nature, but on submission to its rhythm, revealing a decentered and a relational mode of existence. Now, sentience, ship, storms, and consciousness. So we talked about just now. So, let's move forward and go to Mr. Midshipman's S. Easy. The ship behaves almost like a moral tutor, reacting violently to Jack Easy's naive rationalism. The storm sequence is rendered as a moment of sublime confrontation with a force that laughs at equality. The sea is not a setting, it is a thinking, feeling entity that humbles the human subject. So in both the texts, the wreck of Grosvenor and in Mr. Midshipman's Easy, we can see how the ship as well as the all the non-human elements. Also, I would like to incorporate the role of the sailor and the role of the man who is in charge of the ship, not as a human but as an assemblage, a cyborg, because he's kind of an extension of the machinic assemblage. Okay, I'll make this argument clear as I go forward. So, maritime posthumanism in Mr. Shipman's AC. So, it can be read as a formative work of maritime posthuman Victorian fiction. The ship and the storm function as agent of biopolitical discipline and posthuman transformation. The naval vessel operates not merely as a setting, but as a Foucauldian disciplinary place, a self-contained hierarchical machine that regulates bodies, enforces obedience, mechanizes human labor. Sailors become cyborgian subjects integrated into the ship operational logic, blurring the boundaries between the human and machine. The captain's authority becomes absolute and survival depends on complete submission to the ship machine assemblage. Nature here is not passive, but an active agent of posthuman confrontation, what Rosa Ibrahimovic called as material posthumanism event. The ship and the storm enact a dual regime of control, technological and elementally. Mrs. Shipman's essay thus anticipates posthuman concerns by illustrating how identity, subjectivity are shaped in through environmental, mechanical, and disciplinary entanglements in the fluid and volatile space of the sea. Now, again, I'll talk about Moby Dick, which also happens to be one of my favorite texts. So, Moby Dick is a very phenomenal work because it kind of, puts out the ethical and it questions the ethicality and morality of how we structure ourselves, how we structure the human. Because Moby Dick himself embodies as inscrutable malice, resisting the allegorical reduction and symbolizing the collapse of enlightenment rationality. He is not simply an animal but a locus of distributed agency asserting nature's own will against human domination. The novel climax marks the death of anthropocentric mastery. Ahab's Promethean quest ends not in triumph but in obliteration. The sea swallows the ship, silencing the human narratives and exposing the limits of cognition and control. So, thus, Moby Dick enacts a Victorian proto-posthumanism, interrogating human exceptionalism and deciphering the oceanic world as a space where meaning, mastery, and identity are radically destabilized. So here are a few texts that I found very interesting, and maybe you could go and check out. I also highlighted a few elements for us to look at. And I will also take this opportunity to extend it a bit towards the whole oeuvre of Victorian technological imagination, because Victorian era is something which is very important to know, because there was a lot of machinic forces which took over the human effort. We saw how the invention of steam engine arrived, telegraph, iron hulled ship, the utopian dream and the dystopian anxieties, all coming up together to create a space, create a posthuman, a potential area for the exploration of posthuman themes, and how it deeply resonates and adheres to what Donna Haraway later theorized as in 1985 as a cyborg figure. So the Victorian maritime literature is actually a proto-posthumanist understanding. The techno-aesthetic shifts which later took on have also taken inspiration from the Victorian age. We have now cyberpunk, we have the dystopia, we have military science fiction, we have cyberpunk, we have everything which kind of borrows elements. So it offers a very inherent engagement with the posthuman themes, and how the steel, steam, the technological advancement, how everything came into being, and kind of came into the melting pot and orchestrated a symphony and contributed to the post-human understanding of things. Also, again, the GIF that I've used has no reference to Victorian age or anything of that sort, but it looks nice and it has water, so I just put it in there. And maybe, it also connects to the postmodern and the post-colonial references. Although I am really sorry I could not include a lot of Poco references because I just wanted to, keep the arguments short and crisp for us to understand. Now, Victorian maritime fiction, I'll just conclude it, and then we can move forward with the question. So, the machinic assemblage, for which I took the keyword steam, the ocean as an agentic and entangling environment, for which I used the keyword salt, and we had the distributed consciousness among human ships and sentient, which I recognized with the keyword as sentience, and we looked into basically, the biopolitics, the biopolitical argument about given by Foucault, cyborg by Haraway, ecological permeability. We also talked about Latour. We also talked about Barad. So this is. I just hope you found it engaging. And also, what I would like you to people to go and read about it is, which I wanted to include but I could not, is how that you can analyze the treatment of the non-human and the post-human element. For example, language plays a key role in how you talk or you associate it, or you bring in the discourse of the non-human and the human elements. What I mean by whatever I just said is, because when you are referring to the non-human element, you probably use a derogatory or like a not a very respectful attitude towards the non-human elements. However, this majorly differs in the various canon. For example, in the global north, it's very different how the non-human elements are treated in the global south. Also, in the Indian understanding of the non-human elements are very differently assumed, recognized, everything how we do in the how they do in the Western canon. So this is what my argument was all about. It was a small talk, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I was useful to you guys. So apparently I cannot hear you guys. So I'll be joining with my phone. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Just
Do
take
join
a few
in from
seconds
your
to join,
phone. Okay.
and then we can proceed
Okay.
with the questions.
That really was a very informative lecture, and
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see so much efforts um, she has put in, because
Yeah.
it would have been taking a lot of time to create that kind of
To
content.
make the slides and also do the entire thing. It was brilliant. Let's just wait for Akriti and then we
She is
can.
here. She is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really.
Yes.
It's probably
Yeah.
all the. There are aliens probably prohibiting me from talking about them.
The non-humans prohibiting you.
Yeah. And
So,
maybe.
so let me introduce guys to Akriti. Akriti is she is my classmate. She is doing her PhD in, I mean, she has introduced herself as well. So, Akriti is a she is a JRF research scholar at JNU. And her research focuses on science fiction, quantum fiction, and posthumanism. And in her lecture, she particularly focused on how the speculative narrative challenges the conventional understanding of identity, embodiment, and the impact of technology on human existence. So I have learned a great deal of posthumanism. I didn't even know what quantum fiction is. So this is the person I have learned all this from. And I'm very grateful that Victorian, like she came with us. She agreed to deliver a lecture on Victorian Sundays. And I think it was one of the best lectures that we got on Victorian Sundays. And kudos to your efforts that you put in creating the slides, and the lecture itself was brilliant.
Okay, so Ajay probably left the chat. He was not happy. Just joking. So thank you, Shauli. Thank you, Ritam. Thank you, everybody in the team of the Victorian Vanguard for having me. I am blessed and privileged. Shauli is one of the first person that I met in JMU. She'll always be special to me, so I'm a bit biased towards her. I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you
Yeah,
for
you are
joining
buying me
me.
dinner after this. So.
Yeah, I mean, we're going out on a date. So, okay, Tom also left. Apparently, he's also not happy. So, yeah. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for bearing with me. Anybody who has any question, we can have it.
Okay, I do not have a question in particular, but rather
Yeah.
it was a really nice presentation. So I don't know much about posthumanism, but from that lens that you just described, can I say that everything is in a way a post-human being? I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Join the cult of posthumanism. Welcome, return. You are a posthuman already.
exactly, that is my point. Like when you mention the fact that in order to describe post-humanism, we are using humanism or human in particular. So that is a really nice point. So we are opening
And
this to, I mean, opening this session to the audience. If you have any question, you can definitely ask right now because Akit is
yeah,
having.
I think in the Cyborg Manifesto also Donna Haraway says that even if a person, a normal human being, if they have any prosthetic limbs or anything, like you have
Yeah.
artificial
Yeah.
teeth or anything, even then you are considered a post-human.
So,
So can we say
apparently,
that people wearing glasses can be
yeah. So
post-human?
basically, there are soft cyborgs and there are hard cyborgs. So hard
Yeah.
cyborgs are something which you can look at them and see. They have a transhumanism. Something when you incorporate any sort of element or any genetic modification to you. So probably if you're having a pacemaker and it's not visible, so it's a soft cyborg. So you
Yeah.
guys, three of you, Indranil, Ritam, and Shauli, you guys are hard cyborgs. I can see your
Yes.
glasses. If you don't accept or not, you guys are post-human. You
We
guys
do
are
accept
cyborgs.
actually.
I hope that's a compliment. But thank you for joining, and we are okay. Someone has a question.
Yeah.
Akash.
Akash,
Akash. Akash
Akash
is
has raised
Akash
hand.
is the question. So Akash, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, ma'am. An absolutely wonderful presentation. Sorry, I couldn't be for the entirety of it, but like I'm a second year student of presidency, Calcutta. So this is like this is some sort of a dream come true for me, right? I mean, I have been into science fiction. I have been into this whole plethora of science fiction, reality, transhumanism, posthumanism, and I recently presented a paper at IIT Madras on and on posthumanism per se. I took the example of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and Ishiguro's the Clara and the Sun. Right? Sorry, Kazuo Ishiguro's Clara and the Sun. Apologies. I'm really nervous speaking here. But like the question which arose when I was preparing it is like, where is the line between humanism and posthumanism? Like many who research on posthumanism accept the tenets of humanism and expound on it, while others seem to reject it, while others seem to believe in a world which is like I don't know, which is an amalgamation of both. If we are taking Asimov, for example, he seems to start off his theories by disproving the humanist laws or by disproving his very own laws. So I believe for me, the question arises again, time and again, is posthumanism at times ends up contradicting itself. So how would it like act as a standalone theory in itself?
Okay, so apparently posthumanism is a very new genre which has emerged, as you would agree to that. You won't find texts which absolutely answer this question, and that's why we are having research on that. We're trying to develop it, and when the goal is to become interdisciplinary, I don't think we are supposed to recognize a line. That's what the aim is, to become like make it porous. And talking about Clara and the Sun, Asimov, so you have to also understand that they are written for the purpose of science fiction. Okay, they're hardcore science fiction texts. They adhere to some laws of science. Okay, they were
Right.
formulated in taking into mind the science fiction readership. So posthumanism kind of has to interrogate its boundaries. It kind of have to make porous the boundaries that are already created. So the goal of posthumanism is not to like recognize or draw a line. rather make every line porous, or even better, completely erase it if possible, if that makes sense.
So
Yes, ma'am.
I
Thank
think
you, ma'am.
one thing that adds to his question and what Akriti has says, also Hardaway, like since she was talking about Hardaway, Hardaway also kind of talks about this entire concept of situated knowledge.
Yeah.
That now at this age of this interdisciplinary approach, there is a shift from situated knowledge, and we don't look at knowledge as something that is very rigid, that
Mhm.
has very strong and rigid peripheries. And all she says that all forms of knowledge is a situated knowledge. So every form of knowledge experiences its own privileges from one particular positionality. So maybe now is the time to not put things into boxes and look at things from a very rigid perspective and
Also,
treat
like,
every knowledge
uh,
as situated knowledge.
also when you take up the hardcore science fiction text, for example, like, Asimov is a writer who's a very foundational writer. Okay, he also puts the non-human, or the aliens, or anything, or take up the very proto-feminist text, the gothic text of Frankenstein. Okay, there's also a very biased treatment towards Frankenstein. You can never find an entirely post-human protagonist in any science fiction text. For
Yes, ma'am.
example, you cannot erase the human out of post-humanism. That's what we like. That's a goal. That's a distant, or maybe already present goal. For example, you have Superman, you have Hulk, but they're not essentially post-human, right? They're
Yes, ma'am.
humans who have like gone through transhuman effects. So like maybe procedures, or something else to become a post-human. So then there is not an entirely post-human arena, sort of. They did, like, we're on the way to achieve that, but we have not reached.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful. Thank you,
I'm
ma'am.
so happy. I
Uh,
hope you well, like, very good research. I hope to meet you someday. Maybe
yes,
when you're
ma'am.
done with the
Definitely.
book, I'll come. I'll buy your book and come for your autograph.
Ma'am, I'm in the second year of my like undergrad, so that's a
Why
long way.
you? You should be high spirited, right? Why won't you write a book? Write a book in third year.
Uh,
Publish it with them. They're writing a book. Send the abstract.
ma'am, I'd love to work with you if I could like get your contact, like email
Yeah,
and stuff. I would love
share
to
my
work with
email. I'll share my email.
you.
We're already in the Victorian group. We can talk anytime.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Actually, I'm not in that group, so I just got it from one of my friends, like the link for this meet.
Okay, so welcome, welcome,
So
welcome to
we
meet.
can like share Akriti's mail ID and you can connect with her later on. Would
Definitely.
that
Okay,
work?
okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Or perhaps you can write your email in the chat box so that others can see.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, sir. I could do that. I could do that. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyone else?
Okay,
So
we have
Arya,
got a question. Arjo Raja, right?
yeah. So Arjun, Arya, where did it go?
Absolutely. So,
Yeah. So, well, he is asking that would you think that the idea of a schizophrenic existence, as propounded by Deleuze and Guattari, relates to the conception of a porous boundary in post-human thought?
yeah, absolutely. And talking about this schizophrenic existence as propounded by DNG, so there are actually a lot of concepts that you can like borrow from DNG. For example, I'm so sorry I'm calling them DNG because they have a very huge name. I cannot. At this point of time, I've given up in life. So yeah. So DNG. So we have also the concept of body without arguments. Sorry, body without organs. It also is a very, we have like rhizomatic assemblage. They also talk about the machinic assemblage. So yeah, it absolutely aligns with the conception of post. Also, like DNG ka text, like A Thousand Plateaus. It was one of my secondary texts. Also amazing reading.
Okay, so one of your secondary texts, that means you are like
Yeah,
sharing your
she is the part of the Deleuze Guattari club that I was telling you about.
exactly. Any other questions
Uh,
from any other audience?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, if the audience is done asking question, but it is rather a simple question. How do you think the post-humanist perspective changes our ethical obligations to marine life and ecosystems? Like, it's all about like decentering humanism rather than humans, right? So how does this post-humanist perspective would help in understanding our ethical obligations to the marine ecosystem?
Yeah.
And thank you
Okay.
for DND,
So
by the way.
next. So yeah. So the post-human. Okay. So how humans have been treating the water bodies? We kept using the term water bodies in general, very casually. So they're treating. There's a notion. There's a concept called instrumentality, right? So humans have been using the water body as an instrument. The text that I chose also treated the sea as an instrument. So they can extract material, a very poker concept. If you can work, if it works out for them, it works out for them. You have no subjectivity. So when you take up the humanist subject, the human ideals, you can probably explore the non-human world, particularly in context of water bodies. You can never, I mean, it's the job of you guys, you Victorians, you humanities student, to explore out the areas. What will happen in humanities when you take out the human ideal? So I know about Shauli's research. So when you take out the human ideal from it, you kind of get narratives which do not take into human, which do not consider human, which do not center themselves around human, or the central, or the center of the argument is not human. What if we discover a being or a narrative which is absolutely unknown to us? What if there is in, like, obviously I am a scientific person, I'm obsessed with aliens and the non-human beings. So what if you find something which has never been done in humanities? If you completely scrape off the concept of human. So I guess it answers your question.
Yeah, I guess it does because there's a like slight problem with the hearing. I guess you're like on and off inaudible. Is that correct, Rhythm, or is it my network problem?
No, you were right. She must have having some internet
But
issues,
I
but
get the answer. Yeah, that's answer my questions. We can look forward to any other questions from the audience if they have any. But thank you for the presentation once again. It was a brilliant presentation. I really loved the presentation.
Wanted to talk about the sea monsters and stuff, because every time in Victorian fiction the sea monsters or monsters have been represented, they have been represented from the subject point of a human. What if we talk about the sea monsters, also the sirens that have been talked about? What if we, make a study on them? What if we try and take upon the various local narratives take into consideration in different parts of India? How will we theorize them if we were to? So yeah, I mean, I can share my mail. If you have any questions, you can send it to my mail,
I
because
guess that would be helpful for the audience as well. If you can share your mail, they will
yeah,
connect to you.
yeah, because I'm a very introvert person. It took me a lot of time to come up. It took my like, put my camera on. So I will be very happy answering your questions in mail.
But thank you once again for coming on to Victorian Sundays. We'll
Yeah.
definitely send you the questions if you can provide us with the mail ID. Yeah, I guess like Shauli has that, so we'll like let it percolate to the audience.
Yeah. I'll also just put it in the chat,
Yes, that would be helpful.
because
exactly, yeah.
I guess there are introverts like me who will want to ask me questions. Well, definitely not. So I hear you guys, even though you're not talking. Also, this is my last institute's mail ID, and I'm giving you my original ID. So if you're seeing ITBHU, that was my last institute. Don't think I'm a fraud, because I'm not. I'm a genuine person.
You are a posthuman.
Yeah. So just for the sake of clarification.
Uh, I really like the paper, to be honest, and I really hope that hopefully in the future we can do something with it. Uh,
Collaborate on something.
Something we are working on, something maybe.
Maybe we can all turn mermaids. You know, it's underwater. Because like keeping in mind the global warming, it's time for us to go underwater. True humanities is the future.
That would be a good topic to write a paper, I guess. So I don't think audience have any questions, I guess. So we are wrapping this session up. We really enjoyed your lecture, and it was a
Loved
like
it.
exactly. I mean, it was a great lecture with so much efforts.
It was not.
So much efforts.
It's okay. It's okay. If you guys are ready to join the posthuman cult, anything for you guys.
Yeah,
Anything.
we have already joined it, I guess.
Yeah.
We all are humans.
Okay.
Okay, so with that being said, we are ending this lecture. We will be meeting here again on 11th of May, and we are doing something in the background. Hopefully in the future we will be delivering those exciting news with everyone. So till now, just stay with us, and here again
Stay
I am
tuned.
exactly, stay
Peace
tuned,
out, everybody. Stay tuned on
and
Victorian space.
enjoy this post-human space with us.
Bye.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye.
See you
Thank you.
soon.
See you
Thank you.
soon.